Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Garrett Horner. This is stage 20 of the Giro d'Italia, brought to you by Bicycle, the largest global marketplace for pre-owned bikes. With over 20,000 high-quality pre-owned and refurbished bikes available, Bicycle connects the buyers and sellers to make the process of buying and selling safe, easy, and convenient. Sellers, remember to use the code ButterflyEffect24 for 0% seller fee. Now let's get into the last mountain stage, stage 20 of the 24 Giro d'Italia, 185 kilometers, about 115 miles in length. You're going to have to excuse my voice. Allergies are hitting here at the Horner house too, so I got a little bit of a frog stuck in the throat. But when the racing starts, the riders don't have frogs stuck in the throat because they're going full gas, trying for the last-ditch effort to get in a breakaway today. Only problem is, once we go over the first KOM of today's stage, 3 KOMs on today's stage, and 2 of them are the same. Monte di Grappa, it's 18.8 kilometers at over 8%. We're talking about 15% sections. It's narrow, it's steep, it's nasty. So when you're looking at the peloton and the breakaway guys going away on this first KOM, we see 2 riders up there. That's Ballerini up there and Germani from FDJ. They went off about 20 kilometers early, but now the FDJ riders going over the first KOM here on stage 20, taking maximum points. It's not going to matter much because when we look further back, we see it's UAE Team Emirates on the front. 9 riders went over the climb just about 20-30 seconds behind the first duo up there. They're going to bridge together to put 11 riders in this front group. Now when you look at this 11 riders, we see a couple teams have 2 riders in there, and we see, of course, there's one, Ed Toons up there. Ed Toons, when I'm looking at this, is the only knucklehead in this breakaway of 11 because, again, he's got Johnny Milan as a sprinter, and tomorrow's a sprinter stage. There is no value in being in this front group. You're not going to gain time on UAE Team Emirates when Tadej Pogačar said yesterday that he plans on winning today's stage unless somebody's better than he is. When we see the interview from Danny Martinez, though, he says he wants to win today's stage too. We'll go over to one more interview before we get live into the action, and that interview is going to be from Tiberi there, and he says, well, you really can't have a plan here on today's stage because what he's talking about is other riders' plans are going to trump his plan on Bahrain Victorious because it's UAE Team Emirates Tadej Pogačar's plan that, of course, is going to be first in effect. Remember when I told you guys earlier on the Butterfly Effects, any team can control the beginning of the race, but only certain teams can control the finish. Tadej Pogačar made it clear yesterday that they're going to control the whole first part of this stage because they want to come into the last 2 climbs, the same climbs, Monte di Grappa. They want to come into that so that Tadej Pogačar can win a 6th stage here at the Giro d'Italia and start breaking some records and start adding some more time to the general classification. So when you see those 11 guys up there and when you're looking at some of the GC guys in this battle, well, no one's a threat up there in the 11, so Tadej Pogačar, you know he just wants to win the stage. That's why we see their sprinter back there, Milano, on the front with Rui Oliveira. Those 2 guys are riding the front, and we see some Mikkel Bjerg back there. He'll ride the front a little bit through this flat section too. And these 11 guys are going to come in to the Monte Grappa with about 95 kilometers to go in a 3-minute and 45-second gap on the peloton. There's a bit of chaos here at the beginning of this climb as we see Jimmy Johnson. He's throwing in some attacks. We see Vendrami won a stage here at the Giro d'Italia in fantastic style. He's throwing in some attacks because he's like, well, I won yesterday. I might as well start attacking too. Then Jimmy Johnson's coming back. They're clearly just playing some games up here as riders are blowing in the back of the peloton. And we see Ed Toons was the first to blow when this climb started proper. So it was all wasted energy up there. Hope that doesn't burn the legs up of your lead out guy, Johnny Milan, back there, who's going to want to win the sprint when we go into tomorrow's final stage here in Rome for Lidl Trek to be able to win tomorrow's stage. But we go back up to the action. We look back at the peloton. It's Filippo Zana with about 5 kilometers to go, and he's getting popped. He was sitting in the top 10 of the general classification, and he's the only rider in the top 10 coming out on this first passage of Monte di Grappa. Now, once we look up forward, we'll see there's 3 riders up front. Peleo Sanchez is up there. Tonelli's up there from Bardiani. And Jimmy Johnson's still up there from Alpecin de Koenig. You guys are probably like, well, Caden Groves is a sprinter too, so maybe Jimmy Johnson shouldn't have been there. Maybe Conchi shouldn't have been there. But those 2 guys are not the lead-out guys, the most crucial, important guys like Ed Toons is for the sprinter Alpecin de Koenig, Caden Groves. So Jimmy Johnson, you can do whatever you want. Conchi tried to get up into this front group. He got dropped to begin with, came back up, then got dropped again. So like I said, there's 3 riders in the front. Now we're coming into about 3 kilometers to go, just there under. We're going to see attack from Bardiani rider as we see Pellizzari throw an attack. Giulio Pellizzari's attack right here is getting that split from the peloton behind. That's down to about 30 riders. In that group of 30, guys, we're talking about 6 UAE Team Emirates at times. Now they're down to 5. It's Mikhail Bjerg on the front. Domen Novak's looking over there at Tadej Pogačar, lifting his hand saying, "Don't worry, we got this," as Pellizzari's going up the road. "Don't worry, Tadej Pogačar, we're going to control this field for you because we know you want to win the 6th stage here at the Giro d'Italia and the last mountain stage of the 2024 Giro. So we got it under control." With Bjerg on the front, with Domen Novak there, with Großschartner there, with Rafael Majka there, Tadej Pogačar is calm like a bomb. When we start looking at the rest of the peloton, about 30 riders strong, we see Ineos only have 2 guys. That's our Ensman and Geraint Thomas. Geraint Thomas sitting 3rd on the general classification. Our Ensman's sitting up there in the top 10, 6. And then when we start looking at the other riders, Danny Martinez up there, he's got a teammate, and that's Giovanni there. We start looking at some of the other talent in there. Well, AG2R, Ben O'Connor, he's got teammates all over the place. And Jan Hertz, he's up here in the top 10 of the general classification for Pseudo Quickstep. He's got a teammate with him too, but nobody's got the numbers that UAE team members have, except for, with the exception, AG2R, they're looking okay, but they still don't have these kind of numbers, and they're not on the front like UAE team members are right at this moment. Now, we'll see Pellizzari. He's going to bridge up to the 3 leaders in front with about 100 meters to go before the top of the KOM here, Monte de Grappa. Then he's going to come flying by, grab himself maximum points, and we're going to see 4 guys go over the top with 78 kilometers to go. When the camera backs down, as UAE team members still on the front and forced, but Vegard Stockalegen, he started to get dropped. And then when they go over the top, UAE team members, they'll still have Bjerg, Domen Novak to ride, and they still have their climbers, Großschartner, Rafael Majka, and Tadej Pogačar, of course. They drop down the backside, and we're going to see Bardiani on the front right there. As we see Bardiani riding full gas for Pellizzari, he's got his teammate on the front. He knows this bigs can sell out 100%. Maybe Pellizzari can do something special on today's stage 20. Once they hit the little bump between the descent before you start the next descent again, this bump's super stiff, and we'll see up there that Pellizzari's got to light it up right now because his teammate is starting to hurt. Once Pellizzari lights it up, Peleo Sanchez is locked on his wheels. We go over this steep hard bump right here. Tonelli's come off the back, but once they start coming down the descent proper again, before we start the last and final climb here of the Giro d'Italia, Tonelli finds his way back on to get 3 guys in the front because he knows he's got to sell out all the way into the next passage here, the Monte Grappa, which he's doing. They'll come in the Monte Grappa full gas, and they got a 2-minute and 45-second gap on the peloton behind because UAE team members sat up and waited for Vegard Stockalegen to come back. Now, before UAE team members start the last and final climb here of the Giro d'Italia, let's cut to a 15-second commercial for Bicycle, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Remember to check out Bicycle in the description as we got 48 kilometers to go in the last mountain pass here of the Giro d'Italia 2024. We'll see Vegard Stockalegen. He started it proper, but he pulls off. Bjerg goes to work. Once Bjerg gets on the front, he's going to do 4 kilometers on the front because the gap is starting to come down. When we look up there at the Pellizzari, as Bjerg's digging deep, he's taking 15, 20 seconds off of the time of Pellizzari. Now he'll do about 4 kilometers on the front. It's time for Großschartner to go to work. Now, this is a little bit of chemistry change right here for UAE team members. Normally it'd be Domen Novak on the front before Großschartner, but clearly Großschartner believes his legs aren't as good as Domen Novak. This is intelligent team riding right now to know which rider's best and which rider's weaker. As Großschartner's on the front, he's holding the time up there to Pellizzari, but not bringing time down. Now we're going to see with Großschartner on the front, we look at the back, what's happening back there. 2 AG2R guys are coming out the back. That's Aurelien Perepintre back there. And it's Alex Bodine, who's had a fantastic Giro d'Italia right now, but they're losing numbers for Decathlon AG2R. Ben O'Connor, though, he's still got 1 teammate left. It's called Perepintre up there. Valentin, it's the brother of Aurelien Perepintre. Now his brother's still up there, but the numbers are getting reduced in the front. We see Großschartner's, as he's starting to come to the end of his pull there. Tadej Pogačar's coming up, talking to Domen Novak, talking to Grossschartner. Then Grossschartner's going to pull off to the left. He gives him the thumbs up, just like if I back the film up, he gave the thumbs up there to Bjerg when he got done pulling after 4 kilometers. Now Grossschartner's done 4 kilometers on the front too. We're down to about 12K to go here on the last final climb, as Domen Novak's throwing everything into it. Once we look at the back of the peloton from the speed of UAE Team Emirates at the front, it's Romain Bardet coming out the back. It's another top 10 favorite here at the Giro's, getting dropped here on the Monte Grappa. As we look forward, Domen Novak's throwing everything into it. Now Tadej Pogačar wants it to be a little bit faster with just about 6.5 kilometers to go. Rafael Majka gets on the front. With the acceleration of Rafael Majka, we start seeing some Ineos riders suffering as our Insman's pulled out of line. He's starting to drop back. Geraint Thomas is still kind of there, a little bit of a gap, but holding on. Then Tadej Pogačar tells Rafael Majka, do more. As Rafael Majka starts accelerating, there's a split. We see the split right there in front of Geraint Thomas. Tiberi from Bahrain Victorious is coming around Geraint Thomas with Einar Rubio from Movistar. Einar Rubio's having some fantastic form late in the Giro d'Italia here. Those two riders will bridge up. We got 5 riders in the front. Geraint Thomas is stuck in nowhere land. He looks back over his shoulder. He says, I can't do it. I need some help. He wises up. The British rider right now knows he can't close the gap and knows he's got to start protecting general classification here at the Giro d'Italia if he wants to finish on the podium, because Tiberi's going up the road right now with Danny Martinez. And we'll see Storer. Storer, somehow, he was in the back when everything was splitting up. He has bridged his way back up there to put 6 riders in the front. But Tadej Pogačar wants more out of Rafael Majka. So Rafael Majka throws in a huge acceleration. We're getting into 5.5 kilometers to go. Tadej Pogačar decides now's the moment to split and take off. He throws in the acceleration. We see that Danny Martinez cannot follow the Slovenian. Now the Slovenian's flying on the pedals. It's going to take him 700-800 meters to catch up to Pellizzari up there. He cleared about a 50-second gap in 700 meters. The Slovenian is flying. We look further back down, though. What was happening back there was Storer got popped out of this group. He's going to the back. We see Geraint Thomas. Geraint Thomas is in trouble, but guess what? Ben O'Connor's in trouble too. And Ben O'Connor has Valentin Parapente on the front. We look just behind those 2 favorites, and Parapente at the back of the group there. Storer is still lashed on, and Jan Hertz is there. When we look further back down the peloton, though, our Insman, he's in nowhere land. He's hurting back there. If he wants to protect his top 10, he's got to keep pedaling here on stage 20 for sure. We go up front when we see Tadej Pogačar. He caught up to Pellizzari. Well, he tapped his hip right there. He tells Pellizzari, hop on, because it's going to flatten out just a little bit to about 3.5 kilometers to go on this last final climb here at the Giro. Once we hit this, Tadej Pogačar goes solo with about 3.5 kilometers to go up to Monte Grappa. Once we come up to the smokestack there, as the guy's holding his flame there, going over Tadej Pogačar, look from the back view behind Tadej Pogačar. We see there's a guy in front of him, and that's what he's really arguing with. The guy there's blocking the road, and Tadej Pogačar doesn't want anything to happen right now for a Stage 6 victory that might cost him a shot at winning another Grand Tour stage here at the Giro d'Italia. So he's angry at all the fans. He goes up a little bit further. Someone's tapping him hard on his left shoulder. He doesn't like that either, as he's yelling at the fans. Tadej Pogačar, the Slovenian, he just wants to get to the top here safe. We look further down the road. Pellizzari there, he's going to get wrapped up from Danny Martinez to Tiberi, who's been riding the front full gas, and Rubio holding on back to that lead group there. Look further back. Valentin Parapente, man, are you finding some marvelous form here at the Giro d'Italia as you're riding for Ben O'Connor. Geraint Thomas is locked on there as you're trying to bring Ben O'Connor back up to this front group. Now we hit the top of the KOM. This is the last summit finish here of the Giro d'Italia. Not the last climb, but the last summit categorized climb, because Tadej Pogačar is going over solo with about 1 minute 45-second gap. We look down as the followers start coming up. Well, they caught Pellizzari. Now they're going over the top with Tiberi. Danny Martinez is there. Rubio's there. Pellizzari's there. But they're about 2 minutes back on the time of Tadej Pogačar. The next group behind them, though, led by Valentin Parapente, they're only about 15-20 seconds behind the group there of Danny Martinez as they're coming over the top. Valentin Parapente, man, are you riding fantastic. Storer holding on for dear life in this group. They drop down the descent. We're going to see that Danny Martinez is having some problems with the speed of Tiberi up there as he's going full gas through all the corners, and the gaps are starting to open up, but the Colombian will find his way back on. Now we go to 21 kilometers to go. Tadej Pogačar is hitting the actual last final climb here as it's about 1.5 kilometers steep midsection descent here with a climb at 1.5 kilometers. Tadej Pogačar sees his feeder right there from UAE team members, but before he sees that, look over to the left. The kid over there wearing the jacket from Estonia, he's running alongside the Slovenian. The Slovenian reaches out with his right hand, grabs the bottle there from UAE team members, support staff, hands it to the kid. That kid's got a great souvenir right there from UAE team members. Tadej Pogačar, as he's soloing up here, he's going to crest this last bump here with enough of a time gap at about 2 minutes of the group behind. But what's happening behind when we're talking about racing for top 10 on general classification, because it's getting ready to get all mixed up here on stage 20, last final stage here of the Giro d'Italia. As they're coming in, the two groups are coming together almost, not quite. Valentin Perepintre is starting to suffer big time. We look up, Danny Martinez has to throw in acceleration, because when we look back, we see Ben O'Connor was throwing in his acceleration to try to close this gap, as we see Valentin Perepintre was dropping off the front. Now Danny Martinez throws in a huge acceleration on this last huge steep bump. This thing's 15% right here. Danny Martinez throwing in acceleration. Tiberi's throwing in the gap in between. Rubio's got a gap. Those three will go over, gapped off on this final bump here and start the descent. Then they'll regroup coming down the descent. But behind, what was happening? Well, Valentin Perepintre found his way back up to Ben O'Connor and Garrett Thomas. But Storer, if I back the film up just a hair from those big accelerations, Michael Storer, Tudor, he's having some problems, suffering coming off the back. He's got to dig deep if he wants to get into the top 10, because Bardet's already dropped and Zana's already dropped earlier on the first passage of Montegrata. So Storer's got a shot at going top 10 in the Giro d'Italia for Tudor Cycling. He better suffer a ton. Now we're going to come into 11 kilometers to go. The two groups are going to come together and make 7-8 riders back there. Tadej Pogačar, those already started celebrating at 5 kilometers to go, waving to the fans on the side of the road, just under 4. Then he's coming into the finish. He's going to celebrate, arms wide, and he's going to do a big time bow to the fans watching the Giro d'Italia. The crowds were huge at the finish here as he crosses the line. The Slovenian takes his 6th stage victory at the Giro d'Italia. Just behind him, 2 minutes behind him, with a lot of celebration going on for Tadej Pogačar. As we see the group behind, there's a little split. Garrett Thomas is on the front trying to bring back the two riders in front of him. We come in about 600, 400 meters to go. Ben O'Connor's on the front. Valentin Perepintre is going to attack with 200 meters to go up the right side. He's going to get second on the stage. Danny Martinez is going to round out the podium here on the last mountain stage of the Giro d'Italia to get third. And we look at the group behind as they crossed in. Well, the next guy coming across, Michael Storer, fantastic ride for Tudor Cycling. He's going to move himself up into the top 10 of the general classification. Our Ensman salvages today's race, doesn't lose any place on the GC, still finished 6th when it's all said and done. But we look right there with our Ensman, who's celebrating? Well, that's Rafael Maica, the main lieutenant to Tadej Pogačar, that sets up all of the crucial moves of Tadej's attacks here at the Giro d'Italia. He celebrates crossing the line. Now in the top 10 of general classification, everything in the top 6 was the same, but Bardet dropped some spots and Zana dropped out of the top 10 and Storer moved into the top 10. Exciting race here throughout the whole stage, but especially you got to tune into the last 100 kilometers, because the Monte Grappa at 18.8 kilometers long at over 8%. Monster. Guys were hurting the whole time going up both passages, both times throughout today's stage 20. Magnificent race. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. The last and final stage of the Giro d'Italia starts tomorrow on the Butterfly Effect. See you real soon.